It is the Mosh Hoss, the violent breed, JB Anderson. And if you know anybody, you pull up a stool, you sit at that nice little bar top, and you know that tonight we are drinking at Moe's.
All right, everybody. Want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin' at Moe's be a brand ambassador. They encourage everybody to break out of that comfort zone, live their best self, which, hey, that's what got me starting the podcast. But they got great clothing, great apparel, t-shirts, hoodies, beanies, hats, all that good stuff. Be sure link will be in the description, and use the code Drinkin' at Moe's to get 10% off your order. Let's fucking go.
Hey, welcome. Drinkin' at Moe's. Big Mo here. YouTube, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all the good stuff because it helps with that pain in the ass YouTube algorithm. We're most places you can find your audio podcast too. Leave a review there because it helps us on that too. But today, I have with me, I'm excited, the new violent breed, JB Anderson. How you doing?
That's me. I'm doing great, bud.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, I've been getting back in the swing of things here. Took a little bit of a break at the beginning of the month because, well, to be honest, I haven't taken a break on the podcast in a little over a year, and I figured, hell, I got enough that I could just release already recorded stuff. So I'm good. So we're getting back into it now. And the first thing I like to lead off with everybody with is what got you started as a fan? And then what got you finally deciding to make the jump into the business?
Okay, so as a fan, my older brother and my dad were really into wrestling. And Survivor Series 1990 was the first wrestling thing I ever watched. My earliest memory was the Legion of Doom and Ultimate Warrior screaming at the TV, and I was like, these guys are terrifying, but I was immediately enamored by them, and that's my earliest memory of wrestling. And then from there, I kind of like in and out watched it like with my folks. But I started like really like searching for stuff when I found out about ECW. And that's like, that kind of like set me over the edge. And I was like, all right, like I want to know everything about wrestling. So I'm older than I look. I came up during like, I was a teenager during the Attitude Era and like the height of ECW. So like coming through with all that, I was like, this is like the perfect time like to get into this. So that's when I was a fan. But that's my history of being a fan of wrestling.
Oh yeah. And then like what was the point that you finally decided that like, okay, I'm actually gonna try to get into this?
So I'm one of many pandemic wrestlers. Everything slowed down enough in order for me to finally do it, because prior to pro wrestling, like I wanted to wrestle when I was a teenager. Like my dream was to go like train with Taz and go to ECW, but ECW folded when I was 14, and I was like, well, can't go there. And then I didn't know much about an independent scene at the time, so I was like, well, I guess wrestling's over with. And at the same time, I was getting really into playing music and like hardcore punk and metal and stuff. So I played music for the last like 20 years almost. And when the pandemic hit, I was like, booking shows, playing shows, touring, like everything you would do. But at my level, once the pandemic hit, and I was like, dude, it looks like I'm never going to get to play music again. And I'm like stuck at home going nuts. And I ended up having a couple friends that were like, hey, well, we just signed up for this wrestling school. It's something to do. They're like, we all just want to do something because we're all like going crazy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, sure, how much, where, when does it start? Cool. So I got my money together. I went up there, I signed up, and I'm like looking for my friends. And I'm like, all right, well, they're doing open and orientation. I don't see them. All right, now we're running laps. I don't see them. What's going on here? They bailed and didn't sign up.
Oh,
So I was in there solo by myself, and I was like, well, shit, I paid the money for this and I'm literally doing nothing else. So, like, now's time to shit or get off the pot. And at that point, I was like, if I have the time to, like, really sink my teeth into this, then, like, I'm going for it. And so far, so good.
that that is awesome. Little bummed there about the friends kind of backing out, but shit happens, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think one of them eventually started getting into it, but they had moved down to, like, um I think somewhere in Tennessee. And they started training down there. Um, I don't know. I think they got the bug and then they didn't get the bug and then they got it again, and who knows, but
I can understand. I know there was a point where I wanted to like actively get into training, but my back the way it is after hurting it in the Navy, I'm like, no, probably not. Actively in the ring, probably not going to be my way into the business. But there's so
yeah,
many other ways in that
there's a
people
lot of
don't think
options.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I kind of at first was like getting kind of discouraged with, like, with my, like, starting so late. Like, I was told, like, okay, you may not have a long shelf life, you're starting this a lot older than a lot of people. You're like you're gonna have a really hard time, is what I was told. And I kind of was like, all right, I got you. Like, let me learn all these other things just in case. So, like, I was learning how to manage, I was learning how to do audio production in the back, I was learning how to do camera work and editing and all that other stuff. um and then they were like, okay, we're putting you on shows, and I'm like, oh, cool, all right. So, kind of trial by fire, but I'm glad I have the experience to do a little bit of everything. But, like, wrestling, like, is like the main passion right now. Like, while I can get the most out of my body, like, I know I'm gonna hit a wall at some point and gotta hang it up,
yeah.
but for right now I'm just enjoying the ride.
Hey, that's the way to do it. Enjoy it while you can. You know, I know for me, I'm hoping with the podcast, maybe at some point I can end up being like, I don't know how they have special guest ring announcers or guest hosts for a show. I'm thinking maybe I might be able to get in somewhere with that, do a cross thing with the podcast, but we'll see. I mean, I have been featured on Warrior Wrestling, their pre-shows.
Oh, cool.
I've had footage featured on there, so I mean, a little bit of traction there. So who knows?
Nice. Is that Warrior Wrestling in New York?
Chicago.
Oh,
They're
Chicago.
based out of
Okay, okay.
Chicago. They actually got a show coming up October 6th, and I know the the match. It was actually one of the first matches they actually advertised for that show that I was like, oh my god, Eddie Kingston versus the bounty hunter Brian Keith.
That is a good matchup. That is a really good matchup.
Oh god, when I saw that, I'm like, oh shit.
Mm.
I guess I'm not doing anything October 6th.
No, that's how I was when I saw Jun Kasai was going up against Matt Tremont at Atlantic City in GCW. I was like, well, I got a wedding reception that morning and I'm gonna zip my ass to Atlantic City to make sure I'm there for that.
Yeah, nope. I've definitely, if I were anywhere close, I'd be in the same boat. I know
For sure.
I've talked with Matt Tremont about coming on, but with the schedule that guy keeps and how busy he is,
Hmm.
I kind of fell through the cracks. But we'll get there eventually. I
Yeah.
mean, it took me little over a year to finally get a date and get it recorded with John Wayne Murdoch.
Oh
Like
yeah,
took me
he's
a little over a year.
he's hella busy. So
Yeah. But you mentioned, and before we get into some of the other wrestling stuff, you
Hmm.
mentioned, being in a band and performing music. You still doing that? Like how? Like what's that been like for you?
So most of my bands like all kind of like broke up during the pandemic. So like I went and focused mainly on wrestling, and
Oh,
then
okay.
those guys went and started focusing on other bands and actually getting in some ones that are like pretty big and popular at the moment. Like my bass player went on to join this New York death metal band called Undeath. Then my guitarist went on to join this band called Genocide Pact. They're based out of DC. So there's like just they've all splintered off and kind of gone their own ways and doing their own thing. My drummer went and started a band called Immersed in Pain, and they're all killing it. And like I don't know if I have the time to dedicate
Man,
to music that I am dedicating to wrestling at the moment because
y-
I went from being like, all right, I'm getting used like on a show or two to like having multiple shows a weekend. Which is like it just happened out of nowhere, and I'm like, all right, cool, I'm here for the ride. Uh,
hey, no, that's definitely awesome. I know it, especially well anywhere in wrestling, independence on national TV. It can be kind of tricky to you know juggle both the music and dedicate your time to wrestling. So
yeah,
hey, and you're definitely killing it with the wrestling.
appreciate that.
And hey, you're welcome. And one place that going off of you know some of the social media posts, H2O Hardcore Hustle Organization getting in there, and ran by Tremont,
Hmm.
and they're coming up on their 200th event.
Yeah, that's this
That is
Sunday.
pretty epic.
Yeah, I've only I'm not a day oneer like a lot of the guys are there. I've been there since I've probably been a part of like 30 or so events, either in ring or
Okay.
out of ring. I've been there for like the past like year and a few months. Like August, the beginning of no, sorry, August, I think it was 26th, I think, was like my first show there with them. And that was the Like a Hoss show.
Okay.
Because I had gone up for a Speedball Mike Bailey seminar and
Mm.
then got used in the pre-show, and I was like, it was my first time in the building, and I was like, I love this place. Like the vibe is what I want, the aesthetic is what I like, the people are like genuine and cool. Night and day from where I've been other places, and just not felt that same kind of like that cool, like everyone's chill, right?
Yeah.
um like that was the vibe I got, and I was like, it reminded me a lot of being at like a metal show and that same kind of vibe. So I was
Yeah.
like, this feels very common. Like I'm used to this. So that's when I was like, I want to do everything I can to be here as much as possible. So that's kind of like my home at the moment.
That is awesome, and I've gotten that vibe from them because I mean I've been lucky enough to get to chat with the handful of people that have gone through the doors there, in former tag champs. I've talked with Just Moss.
Mm,
I've had nothing but great interactions with people that have gone through there, and it was like wow. But when my first one, I'm like, I guess I knew of H2O and of Tremont, but I guess in my in my defense, I didn't realize how long they had actually been around
I got you.
because like I had just actually gotten into subscribing to like IWTV and stuff,
Yeah.
and catching a lot of these shows on finally getting introduced to a lot of this stuff. And I'm like, wow, okay. And then seeing 200th event,
Yeah.
pretty epic. And I'm a little parallel. with the podcast here, I'm actually inching closer and closer, probably by the end of the year, to my 200th episode.
Oh, sweet. Happy 200.
So that'll be, I'm working hard on that. I'm trying to plan something big, like a big guest. I have some feelers out there, so we'll see. I'm not gonna, spoilers or nothing right now
Definitely don't spoil. No.
because I don't have anything set in stone yet, so I don't want to go ahead and say something that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. Also, you gotta keep them intrigued. Just give them a little bit of the line.
Yeah. Yep. I actually, one of my ideas I actually have, and I'll mention once we're done recording, like the specifics behind it. But I have an idea for a little teaser of who, like, if I get them to agree with it, a little teaser for revealing who it is. So I get excited just thinking about it.
That's awesome.
And I know H2O, they got a pretty big lineup. I've seen a lot of the card getting advertised lately, so it's looking like it's going to be one hell of a damn show.
It's going to be fun. I know, like, our tag champions, Rocket and Cito Vega, they're going up against the new Backseat Boys, and then Johnny Cashmere is going up against Declan Grant, which I love Declan. He's awesome. In and out of ring.
I've had Cashmere on.
Yeah, I met him at I also wrestle for like 1CW. That's like I train with those guys, and that's kind of where, like, I'm that's my other home. Like, split between two. It's like when your parents divorce and you go stay with mom one weekend and you stay with dad the other one. Yeah, exactly. I got 2 Christmases with both of those companies. Those are they've both looked out for me in tremendous ways. But yeah, when I was over there, I was there tagging with, like, my old tag partner, and, like, Johnny was in the locker room, and I was like, I know this guy, but I can't put my finger on it because, like, I watched CZW like crazy when I was a teenager. And when he had came up and he started talking to me, and I was like, oh shit, it is Johnny Cashmere. And we're just shooting the shit. He's like helping me out talking. So, like, I'm excited to see him again on Sunday, because I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh yeah, no, I've tried to keep up ever since I had him on, and tried to have his guys on there, but that didn't work out. But it's funny for me because, like, I remembered, especially with him, watching, and then all of a sudden I'm starting this podcast, and I think it started out with another, big tag team back in the day, and they're still going strong now. The SATs, I had them on. They were like my first one I ever did over Zoom.
Really?
And then I ended up, a little ways down the road, getting in contact with Cashmere, and then I'm like, holy crap! Like, at first I'm like, I knew, like with you, I'm like, I knew of him, but then I'm like, and then we got to talking, I'm like, oh damn, yeah. Like, once I started actually putting 2 and 2 together, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people came through that era of CZW, so it's like, it's a lot of names to remember and a lot of faces to remember, and I'm bad with both.
Yeah, I can be with some good with one and bad with the other, and then with other people the exact opposite. Like, I'm good with the other thing and bad with
yeah, I feel that.
So yeah, but man, the other thing with H2O that I saw coming up, that I am a fan, and, like, people get a bad rap with deathmatch wrestling. They got their big deathmatch stuff coming up in October.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's gonna be some intense stuff.
Yeah, there's the Tremont deathmatch tournament, and then there's the Bound by Blood show also. So we got like there's like a couple of Halloween. I think it's Halloween weekend, and then like I think it's before then. I'm really bad with dates. So
Yeah,
but I know
if I
there's a
got it
couple
marked
in
down, I'm
October.
thinking it's October 28th and 29th.
Yeah, those are the 2 dates. Yeah.
So yeah, right before Halloween,
Hell yeah.
good, you know, death matches can definitely kind of get that Halloween theme in there. Good time for that. And I mean, I've been lucky enough to get to talk with some pretty big names when it comes to death matches.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned John Wayne Murdoch. I've had Low Life Louie. I had just had him
Love me,
on. I
Louis.
just released his episode last week. I've had Madman Pondo. I've had,
Oh yeah.
I need to get these displayed here, but I actually have signed ring worn kick pads from Alex Colon right
Oh, sick.
here. Yeah, I had him on, and he was talking about investing in some new ones. So he was trying to sell off the old ones. I was like, "How much do you want from me?" Just said, "Make me an offer."
Half the time, that's the way to do it.
And then I'm like, I actually found a picture on, I think it was Google, of him in those kick pads doing a double knee through a pane of glass on a guy. And I'm like,
Hell yeah.
okay, that picture is definitely going with those damn kick pads.
That's the one.
Yep, that is the one to do. And I'm excited about the deathmatch show, but then I got to thinking, and just the talking here and seeing some of the stuff you got behind you,
Mm-hmm.
some of the stuff I got behind me here. Looks like you got some nice little collections going there.
I
Is
got a
that Mick
I got a
Foley with Socko?
little paraphernalia. Yeah, I have a Sacco signed by Mick Foley. Mick Foley's my favorite wrestler of all time.
So I met
Um,
him one time, so that was pretty cool.
yeah, same. He was very one of when they say don't meet your heroes, met him, perfect.
Yeah, no,
um,
definitely.
yeah, because he when I was like when I was a teenager and getting into wrestling, I was overweight, and when I saw Mick doing everything he was doing, I was like, yo, there's hope for me. Like I don't need to be a
Definitely.
bodybuilder. Like he made me feel like I could do crazy things. And here I am 20 years later.
That is awesome. I've been lucky enough to meet some of my favorites,
Mm.
including I just met a couple months ago met Rikishi and got him to sign a Head Shrinker Fatu figure.
Oh, cool.
And I've been to a couple different shows for Sammy Callahan's promotion, Wrestling Revolver.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah.
I've met, let's see.
I'm good friends with Phil Stamper who does stuff there.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I've had him on too, and
Oh, cool. Yeah,
got to talk to
I
him
love Phil.
personally after
Phil's great.
shows. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And oh, my favorite set, like I love all my figures that I've gotten autographed,
Hmm.
but out of the ones that I've met at Revolver, my favorite one was actually the first one that I got figure signed at, because I took a figure for Rich Swann, Swerve, and Keith Lee. They were all going to be there,
Oh,
but
cool.
none of the three were out there for the pre-show, the
Oh, like the meet and greet.
the meet and greet thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like a little bummed out, and it got to the end of the show, and I'm like, well, shit, I haven't seen any of these guys.
Hmm.
And then I turn around, and like 2 feet behind me is Rich Swann. So I'm like, oh shit. And then I'm going out to my car, still a little defeated. And then I see somebody off in the distance filming a promo in the parking lot. And I get a little closer, there's Swerve.
Oh, nice.
And then I asked him if Keith Lee had left, and he's like, "Oh no, he's still in there." So I waited around. I got all three of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you talked about not meeting your heroes.
Hmm.
I've had two different situations where I've met two and nothing but pleasant.
That's awesome.
Like a couple the first one was a couple months before he eventually, you know, killed himself.
Oh.
But Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
I got a Funko Pop up here signed by him, and literally this was like right before. It was maybe 2 months before that happened.
Oh, that's wild.
And then just the same time I met Rikishi, they had. I'm a big Ninja Turtles guy.
Oh, same.
I actually at that same convention met Townsend Coleman, the voice of Michelangelo from the original cartoon.
Cool.
Got a Funko Pop signed by him, and actually talked to him and told him Michelangelo was always my favorite. And we got in a solid maybe 5-minute conversation just on that.
Nice. Yeah,
And
Raphael was always my guy. I was a big Raph dude.
so Raph, solid choice.
Yeah.
And then literally right next to him was Kevin Clash, the guy behind Splinter in the first two original movies.
Oh, sick.
So I got a Splinter Funko Pop signed by him.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, no,
So, yeah.
Ninja Turtles was definitely a big part of my childhood. I have a lot of action figures from back in the day still.
Oh yeah, I'm having to kind of rebuild my Ninja Turtle collection a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got some good stuff. I got like a 30th anniversary Super Shredder down here. That was pretty epic. I got a handful of the Universal Monster mashups
Oh, sick.
with
The
like
ones where it's like
Michelangelo as the
them as like the
mummy.
mummy. Yeah, yeah.
That was the first one I got, and it's my absolute favorite of them so far.
Yeah,
But
one of
yeah,
my favorites I have from like I still have the full set of. Do you remember when they did like it was like a sports pack of like the
yes.
original Ninja Turtles? I have all those. They're not in the box or anything because I was a kid and I took them all out and played with them.
Oh yeah, that's
but
same.
but yeah, so I still have like, what was that? I think Michelangelo, no, Leonardo was a football player, Donatello was a basketball player, and they had him in
Yeah,
like a red
Donnie had
jersey.
the yeah.
Yeah, they had him looking like Michael Jordan. It was like, this is great,
Oh yeah, those were
Yeah.
some great ones. I'm hoping maybe someday I can get my hands on some of those, but I know one of like vintage ones that I'm wanting to get my hands on, and it's only mainly well twofold. One, it's Michelangelo because my favorite,
Right.
and two, they did that military line of them.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember those.
Michelangelo was the sailor Navy one.
You know,
I'm
let me look through my collection. I might actually have that, and I'll just send it to you if you want.
Oh man, that would be epic.
Yeah,
Because I've always told myself if I ever found that one out at like a convention or something, I'm like, I would have to call my wife and like I don't care about the price. I'd be like, babe, I'm sorry, but I actually found it.
yeah, I'll look through it later tonight because I that one sounds familiar and it might be in there with all the rest of them. Of course, not in pristine condition, but it's yeah.
That might be one that I like. I'll have one loose, and then like if I can continue the hunt for like a
A
on
box
card
one.
one and have them both.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Although there is one like one of those new the Super Sevens, how they have like they're releasing like fancy versions of old ones.
Mm-hmm.
I have one. I have the original here, the Leo Samurai,
Oh, I have the original of that one too.
and I'm like, I've seen the Super Seven, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to get that, and then display that one right there with it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And then keep the Super
So,
7 in the box.
oh, it's Super Seven in the box, and then have that one. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is that's on my goals when I like, you know, can get stuff situated. Like I'm proud of what I got so far.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a solid collection. I have a couple different things like around the room here. There's like Gundams and stuff I build that are like over here. But as far as like old school collectibles and stuff, I have like I used to work in video game stores prior to
oh yeah,
doing this, and I have like a bunch of old like Resident Evil action figures, like OG Super Mario movie action figures, like
Oh yeah.
the whole line. It's like Mario, Luigi, Dennis Hopper as Bowser, like bunch of old Halo figures, bunch of random stuff. Um, it's funny actually, the glass case I have with a bunch of those figures in it. I also have two broken tubes from the 700 light tube match that Matt and Neil Diamond Cutter did a few months ago.
No
Um,
kidding.
yeah, just a whole bunch of stuff. I was like, yo, I'm being in, like Matt was telling us, he was like, take some, do what you want, have memorabilia. And I was like,
I
I don't care. I'm taking a couple.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
I've gotten some from a deathmatch show I went to. Now it's been a few months, but there was the connector cap on the end of a light tube that flew off and hit me in the foot.
nice.
I got that. I got that. I got a oh damn, the metal, the flat. I'm pulling a brain fart on this.
Mm-hmm.
The metal plate looking thing that has the
Oh, a
little
gusset.
gusset plate.
Yeah.
I had one of those that kind of flew and like landed near me. And the ticket I bought for that show actually came with a raffle entry for a piece of an event use item
Okay.
that would be signed by everybody. And I actually have it over here because I didn't realize I won until the end of the show when
Oh yeah.
the promoter comes up and hands me a piece of a door that had been signed by everybody.
Well, that's
And
awesome.
funny story with it, my wife, first time she saw it, she's like, "Is that blood on there?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah, it is. That was like
So
the first time I came back from working crew on a deathmatch show, and I forgot to pick all the thumbtacks out of my shoes, and I'm like, I come back home and my wife is like, "What are all these thumbtacks doing in here?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And then I like look at the bottom of the shoes I wore the day before, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, don't touch those. I'll get rid of them." Oh,
yeah.
whoops,
Oh God, I can only imagine. Now
whoops.
going into, I got two categories here that I like to round stuff off with. One's a name game where I try to theme it towards the guess as much as possible. Where I give you a name, you give me some quick thoughts on the person. For this time, we're going, since we've been talking a lot about H2O.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go. We went with I'm gonna mention some people that have gone through the doors of H2O, and you give me some quick thoughts on them.
Okay,
Some of these guys have actually been past guests on the show,
sure.
so this is going to be pretty cool. And one of them I haven't had on the show, but I've met them. So here we go.
Okay.
First, the one they call Manders.
Oh, awesome dude.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, very good dude.
oh yeah. I got nothing but great things to say about him. Met him a couple times at Sammy Callahan's promotion,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the second time it was actually him and two of the other members of the Second Gear crew. So I actually got to finally see Second Gear crew live, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, was it Matt and Matt Justice and Manser?
Yep,
Yeah. Yeah, they're an
got to see.
experience. They're wild. They're wild to watch.
Oh, and you know what? I've often joked on like Twitter and stuff that their matches should be sponsored by Home Depot with all the shit that gets thrown around.
For sure. Yeah. No shit.
I actually got to tell them that joke in person,
Oh, good.
and they loved it.
Of course, yeah. They go through more doors than anybody. It's awesome. Like I love every
It
bit
is
of their
insane,
matches.
and I love it.
Yeah.
But another funny thing with Manders there, hey, I think it was the first time I met him that somebody, I think it was somebody next to him in the meet and greet table, was complimenting my beard, and I made the joke about, yeah, I haven't been clean shaven in a while, is I'm like, if I go clean shaven with my bald head, I said, my head looks like a penis. And he about did a damn spit take. It was hilarious.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Loved it. Next person, somebody that I was excited to have on, and she's doing amazing things now with AEW Ring of Honor, but Billy Starks.
Oh, also extremely good person, from my experience with them. Like, they are way ahead of the game. For as young as she is, she's insanely good.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And I think it was again at Sammy Callahan's promotion. She was in I forget how many people were in this match, but it was a scramble match, and got to see her there and got to talk to her in person before the show. And yeah, nothing but great things. The sky isn't even the damn limit for her.
Oh yeah, no, she's you know, I like, they say like once in a generation kind of talent. I fully feel that way about her. She's gonna be very, very, like, she's gonna be a part of the wrestling history books for sure.
Oh, most definitely. She's already at that point, and what, she just graduated high school
Yeah.
like a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, like it's gonna be insane.
Right.
Next person, kind of talked about him a little bit, but Low Life Louie.
Oh, one of my favorite people to talk to when I'm at H2O. He is a well of knowledge, nicest fucking dude. Comes from uh like a historic background in wrestling. Um, like, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. Great human being. Love that guy.
Oh yeah, I was really excited when when I was able to get him on and he agreed, and I'm like, holy crap, this is actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember watching the GCW Hall of Fame deal, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually going to be talking to him. This is pretty
Right.
fucking sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, great dude, nice as hell, nothing but great things to say about him.
Of course.
Next guy, another former guest. I've actually had him and his tag partner on. Former H2O tag champs, Christian Ross.
Oh, Christian Ross? Yeah. Also nice as hell to me every time he's been there.
Oh yeah, nothing but great things again to say about him.
Yeah.
And I've had, like I said, both him and his tag partner slash opponent, because good Lord, the amount of times I've seen those two have faced off against each other, different places, and tagged, that those two together, magic, whether they're opponents or tag partners.
Oh, Chris Bradley.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's solid too. And like I said, anytime I've been there, like, I was helping string up barbed wire for the match that Declan and Jess had recently. And
Yeah.
and he was there while I was putting stuff together, and he's like, "Yeah, man, you trying to do this shit?" And I was like, "Yeah." Yeah, this is the shit I want to do at some point. Like, I've never done a death match. I've only done hardcore and street fights. But like, I definitely want to start like falling into that world a little bit more.
That it's an interesting one, but going into my next category, which is some random questions. Some
Shoot.
might be wrestling related, some might not be. I give you the question, you give a quick answer. And this one, we're gonna go. I'm gonna add one in here that I didn't necessarily have on the notes because you just made me think of one.
Okay.
So we'll lead off with that one. When it comes to deathmatch wrestling, I have heard this question asked a bunch to different people, and it's why? Because deathmatch wrestling, it's a whole different animal.
Right. Um, So since I've never been in one, it is going to be a little hard for me to answer as a participant, but as being in hardcore matches and traditional wrestling, but then also being a huge fan and I pay attention to a lot of deathmatch wrestling. Um, I feel like there is a way to tell a different kind of story in deathmatch wrestling than you can in traditional wrestling. Um, I I remember hearing from people who look down on it who say, "Oh, well, those are the guys that don't know how to work." And it's like, well, no, because I've seen guys do deathmatch stuff that have gotten people up on their feet in ways that I haven't seen in traditional wrestling at our level of the
Yeah.
independents.
Oh yeah.
Because there's a level of like crowd participation, crowd endearment, crowd hatred, all of that I think culminates in a way in deathmatch wrestling in a way that traditional wrestling doesn't. It's not that it can't. They both can get the same result from the fans and they can
Oh
both get
yeah.
the same story, but they're different stories. It's one like one's Die Hard, one's Grindhouse. Like you're
Yeah.
still telling the story of someone, you know, overcoming everything, but one is just more visceral than the other. They're both
Yeah.
violent, but one is like intense.
Oh
And
yeah.
and that's kind of what's always like drawn me to deathmatch wrestling because like I said earlier about being a big fan of Mick Foley. um I watched the Hell in a Cell match live. I was like, this is insane. It can't get any, crazier than this. Then I see him and Terry Funk in IWA and I'm like, what the fuck? Like this is so
Yeah.
cool. Like
Oh yeah.
and
I've
like
I've seen some of those matches myself.
yeah, I saw them through tape trading when I was younger, and like someone sent me a bunch of like Japanese deathmatch stuff, and they were like, "Oh, you like McFoley? Here, check this out," and sent me like the whole IWA tournament, and I'm just like jaw dropped, like in awe. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is awesome. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, deathmatch wrestling, I feel like it's a very unique and different animal. I feel like I have a like when I start doing it, I have a pretty high pain tolerance for things. So when getting into it, I feel like it's something that like I can excel in. I have a sneaky suspicion that I can do really well in one. But I don't know until I'm in it, right? So like
Yeah.
I have a lot of confidence going in, but it's a matter of like, all right, nut up or shut up, perform or don't. So the
Yeah.
second
No.
I get an opportunity to do one, I'm dipping my toe in, but I'm going balls to the wall.
That's definitely the way to do it
Yeah.
because it's one of those things where it's like if you don't, then you're gonna be regretting even signing up for it.
Yeah.
And the thing that commonly gets brought up when I'm talking to some of the people in death matches that I've talked to is deathmatch wrestling can be everything that regular pro wrestling is. It's just
Hmm.
regular wrestling surrounded by the deathmatch elements, the barbed wire, the tubes, and all that. You get the
Yeah.
stories. I've heard it talked about like, yeah, you have all the weapons there, but you don't go to the tower of light tubes right off the bat.
Yeah.
You kind of
You
start off
tease
with
it.
one of the air quotes smaller things,
Yeah.
and then you ramp it up to the big shit.
Right. Like one of the things I really like about watching Eric Ryan
Mm.
wrestle is the and Akira too, is the wrestling before the death match stuff. It's like there still is like I like how they still put an emphasis on the wrestling part.
Yeah.
And then it gradually picks up and picks up and picks up. And now it's like, all right, cool. Now the hardware is getting involved.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I like watching that progression. I also like watching a match that just starts hot as shit, but it's the same as a match that just starts with fistfights in the entryway of a traditional wrestling show. And you just do the same thing, but you get popped with a thing of tubes at the opening, and then it's just hot start from there. Um, yeah, it's its own unique monster, and I think that nowadays people are starting to get a little hip to it and understand that like it is a viable form of pro wrestling. Like um AEW Dynamite's doing death matches on Wednesday nights
Yeah.
on like national television. There was 34 deathmatch wrestlers in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500. Like
I was just
you
about to
yeah,
mention that.
Yeah, you can't say that deathmatch wrestling doesn't have a corner of the market. It's the most watched stuff on IWTV also.
Oh
Um
yeah, totally.
not to downplay the other promotions and what they do, but like
Yeah.
deathmatch is their bread and butter.
Oh yeah.
So it's like I said, it's I understand it's not for everyone.
Yeah. No,
But
it's definitely
yeah.
not. I've definitely been caught watching deathmatch wrestling when like my mother-in-law would be walking into the living room and she's like, "Isn't that illegal?" And I'm like, "Just sit down. Just sit down."
Unfortunately, it is in Maryland. Like we can't do deathmatch wrestling in Maryland. There's a lot with the sports commission. There's no way they fly. Like we can't bleed in the state. We can't do pile drivers. Like there's a lot that we are not allowed to do. So I gotta leave home to go do anything fun.
Ah, gotcha. Well, this leads me into my next question here. Craziest in match moment for you?
Crazy. Ooh. Um, like crazy is in like, oh no, what am I doing? Or crazy is in um, like something happened, like there was something wrong. Like,
Well, some happened, like a moment that you're like, "Oh shit."
oh, so there was a show I was working earlier in the year, where I think this is on me. I think I moved a little to the side, um, and I got kicked in the throat. And
Ooh.
I at first was like, okay, whatever, I actually put this above when I because I recently broke my arm.
I was
And yeah, and that was less traumatic than this in the moment because after I broke my arm, I wrestled in another match an hour later, not knowing my arm was broken. So that might be one of the oh shit moments, but that was all just like, oh, okay, my arm hurts, but I think I'm fine. And then I'm in a street fight an hour later with 5 people. But then no, but anyway, so this match happens and I get kicked in the throat and I'm like, okay, like I'm good. Ain't no thing. And then I start running some more spots and then I'm just kind of like, I can't breathe. um and then I noticed I couldn't really speak either for like a moment. And I was like, oh, I got kicked in my voice box. Um and I had like spots to run and I couldn't catch my breath and I couldn't do anything. And I was just kind of like, I have like a chunk of this match to still go. Fuck. So I power through it. And then I like I do like a springboard like back elbow and like I couldn't I botched it. It looked like shit. And the whole time in my head, I'm just like, why can't I fucking breathe? And then the match ends and I'm sitting in the back and I'm trying to like catch my breath and like kind of like slow everything down. Eventually like the swelling like subsided and like I got like kind of back to normal. But I used to be able to falsetto. I haven't been able to falsetto ever since. But
ah.
that was I'm pretty sure there's some damage and I need to go do some like voice therapy or something.
E-
But
e- yeah, no,
yeah.
I would say that would be hard to top that on a list of crazy moments. I know my first ever like legit death match that I got to see was pretty nuts. Like the whole
Mhm.
damn match was nuts.
Yeah.
It was Jake Chris versus Joel Bateman at uh,
Ooh, hell yeah.
at Revolver,
That's a good one.
and the match before it was a Monsters Ball match, so there was all sorts of shit already spread all over the ring,
For sure.
and like they were cleaning it up. Jake rolls in, it's like, "Fuck that, leave it, let's go."
Nice.
And the match ended. This is the craziest part of the whole damn thing.
Hmm.
And I love telling this one, but they took 4 folding chairs, bridged 2 panes of glass on there,
Nice.
and then Bobby Olson, another former guest of mine. I've actually had both Jake and Bobby on, but Bobby rolls in there, and I'm like, "What the hell is that he's pulling out of his pocket?"
Hmm.
Lighter fluid. They lit the glass on fire.
Sick.
And I'm like, most people that I know, like from here local to me in Omaha, like if that I know through wrestling, probably would have if they saw how I was like up and like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
they probably would have thought I was nuts. But I was
Right.
like, holy crap, like thinking, man, did my eyes just play tricks on me, or did I just see somebody go through flaming glass?
Fire is pretty cool, and when fire's on glass, it's a pretty cool little animal there.
Oh yeah, and I got to talk to both of them after the match. I actually got a picture with Joel Bateman with his face all bloodied up and stuff, and he's just standing there like, yeah. Like,
Nice.
it was awesome. Well, you know, going into you've been in some hardcore matches, and you're wanting to get into death matches. What would you say is a weapon you would like to avoid in a match if you had the choice?
Right now, none. Um, I have a So here my approach to everything is I gotta try it first to see if I hate it. Um, I guess
Good,
like
good, good mentality.
yeah, I think a Tenzon might be the only thing I'm a little like sketched about.
Yeah, I've
Um, I hear
I've
a lot of
seen
people
videos of
don't.
them getting pulled out of that.
Yeah, those seem like a bastard, but like if it happens, it happens. But I think that would be the one thing I'm kind of like, oh, maybe not. But yeah, no, maybe ra- razor wire also maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that one I could understand because it's like barbed wire is one thing.
yeah,
Razor wire is like a whole different. Like that shit is just gonna be nasty.
yeah. I've been wrapped up in barbed wire accidentally as ring crew a couple times, and I'm like, all right, well that's gonna suck to go in one day, but like I'm fuck it.
Yeah, yeah,
um
that would be one of those.
heat of the moment sort of thing.
Yeah, I the most common one that I've had, the most common answer that I've had for that question has always been toothpicks.
Oh, you mean like the skewers or
Not, well, I mean skewers, but like Alex Cologne, and I'm trying to think of a few other people, but they've all answered toothpicks because they always say like the small ones like at restaurants and stuff.
oh
Because it's
yeah,
like,
those must suck. Yeah.
oh man, because they all, Alex Cologne was actually the first one to talk about this. That he was like, you know what, you might get lucky and you get the whole damn thing out, but you
Right.
break the wrong piece off and then it's embedded in your skin and infected and shit.
Yeah, now that does make sense because I've definitely like I've sat on them before when they've been in my pocket and they definitely jab you like a motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm going to say this was Jess Moss that told me this story of Alex Cologne, or maybe it was Remington Roar that
Hmm.
told me this story. It was one of the two, but they told me a story of Alex Cologne, and they were going through. He was going through weapons to possibly get used in a match, and something had like a whole bunch of toothpicks in it, and he
Oh.
just picks it up and chucks it into the woods and was like, "Fuck that."
I've noticed that sometimes for like fans bring the weapons shows where it's like every once in a while you'll get something that's like, what the fuck is this? Like I think my favorite one was somebody brought um they had hot glued this all together. It was a cheese grater, but with gussets on it. And then the top of it was one of those uh pineapple peelers.
Oh,
So it was like a spinning blade, grater, and gussies all in this one contraption, this thing that this guy hot glued together. And he just brings it in and goes like, here you go. And we're like, cool, brother. Thanks for
that
that.
is nuts.
Yeah, no, there was like there's a couple different events that I've been to like that. And we'll set it in the corner and then like the boys will look at it and they'll be like, oh no. And then we all I remember like there was one ICW where me and some of the bocce boys, we were kind of like, "Hey, yo, you want to use this?" And a bunch of people kept just going, "No, no, I don't." I won't say
I
what it
could,
was or who it was, but there was definitely a couple where it was like nobody wants to use that shit.
yeah, no, I can understand you there. Now, this next one, not a wrestling related one, but with the name of a show like Drinking at Moe's, I would feel weird if I didn't have this one in here.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite drink, whether it be alcoholic or non, or hell, one of each, because I've had plenty of people on that for one reason or another don't drink. So I try to be respectful of that.
Right. So I am straight edge, so I don't drink. But I have been drinking Virgil's root beer. That's what I was
Okay.
drinking earlier. I didn't know if that was gonna come up as a question, and then someone's gonna see this and be like, I thought he was straight edge. And it's like, no, I am. um, but no, I back prior to me being straight edge when I did drink regularly, my drink of choice was always IPAs and Jameson. That was my alcoholic drink of choice.
Yeah, yeah.
But now I'm a connoisseur of fancy sodas. Um, is kind of my thing. Like if I can find something like nice and fancy with like cane sugar or like a real artisan-y
Okay.
type of soda, like that's more what I'm going for nowadays.
Okay. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that.
Yeah.
I know my wife tells me I have a bit of a Dr. Pepper problem.
Mm-hmm.
I always joke with her, and I actually legit gotta actually tell her this one time. Actually, it was not all that long ago. She told me I had a Dr. Pepper problem. I told her I don't have a problem. I have it figured out. The only time I have a problem is if I don't have any.
That sounds like when I used to be an alcoholic.
I've been lucky that I haven't had that sort of an issue when it comes to alcoholic beverages,
Mm-hmm.
but I probably could use to cut back a little bit on the Dr. Pepper sometimes because I go through that stuff like crazy.
Yeah, I don't feel bad. I go through Diet Coke like crazy too. It's like my on the road soda. So like I'm drinking like coffee usually nonstop. 'Cause I have ADHD and it's like it soothes the hell out of me instead of taking Adderall. So I drink the shit out of coffee. I'm drinking tons of water. I'm drinking tons of Diet Coke. I'm pissing every 5 minutes. It's just this
That's
is
the
my life.
way. That's the way I feel at work sometimes because I
Yeah.
feel like, God dang it, didn't I just go to the bathroom like 10 minutes ago? I should not. But then I'm like, between Dr. Pepper and water, I'm like, just like crazy. So it's like,
It
okay.
it be like that sometimes.
Now, this next one, I like, I'm not a picky eater at all,
Mm-hmm.
but I do have my favorites.
Okay.
What would you say is a favorite food of yours?
Oh, hmm. I eat a lot. So,
I'm I'm
um,
I'm I'm kind of a big guy myself.
I gotcha. So I'm also vegan, so I'm just not fun to be around at all. But
No, nothing wrong with that.
I'm gonna break this into two because my favorite dessert and my favorite food. All right.
Okay,
So
okay.
favorite dessert is there's this company called Cinnaholic. They make completely 100% vegan plant-based Cinnabons.
Ooh.
That's my shit. And they're a new company because like before I was vegan, I've been vegan for like 10 years. But when I was a teen and worked in a mall, I had a Cinnabon and a Taco Bell directly across from the store I worked in. So I got because the girls across from from my place thought that I was cute, so they gave me free stuff all the time. So I got free Cinnabons on the regular, and I got like like tacos whenever I wanted. So like I've always had this like thing for Cinnabons. They're like my favorite food. So going vegan, I haven't been able to have them. And then this place popped up like near where I live, uh, like 6 months ago, and it's like I have to be really careful because I'll crush like 7 of them if I'm like not careful. But that's like my go-to like sweet right now. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So Cinnabons, favorite dessert, favorite main food. I would say cheesesteaks, like vegan cheesesteaks. Like wherever I can go
Okay.
to get my hands on one, I will try any and all. Um, right now, I think the best one is done at Triangle Tavern in Philadelphia. That's the
Okay.
best vegan cheesesteak that I've had on the East Coast.
Okay, yeah, no, and you know what? I mean, I'm not a vegan, but
Mm.
I've definitely seen, and I've had a few of places with some of the plant based meat option stuff that
Oh
they
yeah.
have.
It's
That
way
I'm
different
like,
than it used to
okay,
be.
this isn't bad.
Yeah, it's we're a long way away from where it used to be, because like plant-based food like 15 years ago was like just tofu essentially. Tofu and seitan, that was it. And like you can kind of get the texture with seitan, but like as like things have like progressed and gotten better, there's like so many new options.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like, I know a lot of people aren't like still keen on going like full vegan, and I'm not a preachy vegan. I think that a lot of preachy vegans are extremely detrimental to all of our existence
yeah.
as vegans and non-vegans. Um, which is why I don't know if you noticed, but so many different places have gone plant-based because they're trying to move away from the vegan side of it, just because of the negative connotation with just how it is in culture. And a
Yeah.
lot of you haven't helped. Be cool. More people will be on board if you're cool. But but yeah, no, like the advancements in vegan food now has just been so crazy. And like I know a lot of people that do like meatless Mondays, or like they'd go like, all right, we don't eat meat like 3 days out of the week, just to like kind of mix things up. So they go with like the vegan options of things. Like I had there's this brand called Meaty. They make like mushroom based like steaks and chicken cutlets. It's
Hmm.
weird as shit. And I feel like I'm being ribbed, but like I've had them a couple times, and like I gave the steak to a friend of mine who eats meat, and asked him like, "Hey man, I haven't had a steak in a long time, so like I don't know how close this is." Cut that bitch up, gave it to him, and he was like, "It's close. It's not there, but it's a lot closer than any other of the weird vegan steaks you've given me."
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I'm not a vegan. I got respect for anybody that can do it. I love a good cheeseburger too dang much to go full vegan.
Yeah,
But
cheeseburgers are solid.
oh yeah, but I know for me, favorite food. My wife gives me shit about this every time we go to any Italian places. But
Mhm.
I'm always looking for the damn lasagna every Italian place we go.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Lasagna used to be the shit. My mom made really good lasagna when I was a teenager.
No, yeah. My when I was in the Navy and I, come back on leave,
Mhm.
my family would always ask me before I got back, what are some things that you want at home? Because I know
Mhm.
you're probably gonna want to eat strictly at home a bunch. Nice lasagna was always one of the dang things I wanted every time.
Nice. Yeah,
All
the
right.
I
Oh,
remember I one of the best lasagnas I ever had. This is back pre vegan. Was actually at a strip club. I
okay.
know. I know it sounds weird, but like me and my boys were looking for a place to go watch the Super Bowl, because like the Buffalo Wild Wings near me was like packed. Two other places near me were like charging money. And then I was looking online and I was like, yo, strip club across town is showing the Super Bowl. Like, we could go watch it there. So we drive over there, we go in, and apparently there's like a food buffet. One of the girls that strips there was like, I'm gonna make food, it'll be an incentive to get people to come in. And she's like, as Italian as can be, grandmother's recipe kind of thing for the lasagna. And it was the best fucking lasagna I ever had, and I got it in a strip club.
That is interesting.
Yep. Never
But hey,
replicated ever again.
I, that is awesome. Now, last but not least, best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Ooh, I'm still learning a lot because
Yeah.
I've only been in active on the indies for a year and 9 months. So like I'm still fairly new. My advice would be, um be self-aware, because wrestling typically is there's not a lot of self-awareness in wrestling. Flat out, I will say that. But be self-aware. Be self-aware of who you are, what you can do, what you can't do. And then like Paul Heyman said, show your strengths, hide your weaknesses. And there will be people that suck and are assholes. They are few and far between. There are genuine, really good people in this business that are looking out for each other and trying to make sure everyone's who's sitting at the table gets to eat. Just, be mindful of those people, and also learn to. Sorry, it's a lot of advice because I've been in a year and some change. I've gone through a lot of bullshit. But also know that it's hard to tell at first, but know the difference between paying your dues and being taken advantage of. If you're paying your dues and paying your dues and paying your dues and you get nothing out of it, you're being taken advantage of. If paying your dues gets you towards something, even a little bit, and you get like a breadcrumb here or there, it's something.
Yeah.
And just know that, your time is valuable, your life is valuable. And if a place is demanding more of your time and more of your availability and more of your life than you think is fair, move on.
Definitely great advice. And, made me think when you brought up the Paul Heyman thing. When I asked about Jake Chris coming on,
Mm-hmm.
it was right after the video of him burning the IWA Mid-South belt.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
It was like literally right after that. And when talking to him, I remembered how I was asking him, I'm like, kind of reminded me of how Paul Heyman talked about how he convinced Steve Austin to come to ECW, where he's like, I just was like, you know what? You got a grievance. I got a show. Let's air it.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of like, I think pro wrestling is its best when it's honest. And Stone Cold was honest and it was good
yeah.
wrestling.
Oh, that, yeah. And Jake in his episode, honest, we had an amazing talk. And, Stone Cold, I don't get starstruck too easily, but if I ever actually got to meet him, I don't know if I'd be able to get a word out.
Yeah, I could understand that. I've luckily been able to be around a couple like legends just by being around for the past couple years that I was you don't know until you're in the situation, right? Because you can think like, oh man, I don't know what to say, I'll have diarrhea of the mouth. But then you're like around people and you're like, oh wait, actually, like they're just a person.
Yeah.
Like I got to be in like this. I was in a what was it? I was like in the same locker room with like the Hardy Boys on a show, and like, I'm in the queue to do like photos with like the photographer, and I'm like, this is so weird. Like I'm next in line to get photos taken behind the Hardy Boys and like and the Kingdom. Like, what the fuck am I doing? But this is cool. But I'm like, man, all right, cool. Like, we're all just people here. So,
yeah.
Yeah, you really don't know how you're gonna act until you're in the situation. But
most definitely, I've bring up the Kingdom. I've actually met. Well, I've met both of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I've met Mike Bennett more. I actually ran into him, I'm wanting to say almost 4 or 5 times in one year at different shows.
He's all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And like it got to, I think the last time was at a Revolver show. I literally walk up and I'm like, man, we got to quit running into each other like this, because it was like literally a couple months span where all of those times I met him were, and it's just, we had a good little joke. I actually one time had an 8x10 made of a picture I had taken with him after the first show I met him at, and got him to sign it. And he was like, "Oh, dude, I remember that show."
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Well, I can hear my dogs kind of rumbling around upstairs, so I should probably get to going to check after them. But
Mhm.
before we go, where can people find you social media wise so if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there?
Okay. So on all platforms, literally everything. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, X, X Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm a Violent Breed JBA on everything. Except Twitch. I just recently started a Twitch channel where I'm gaming and watching wrestling. That is at the Bonk Beast, because I am the Bonk Beast from the East.
Okay.
But yeah, so at the Bonk Beast on Twitch, everything else is Violent Breed JBA. You can find me on Facebook under JB Anderson. That's where everyone can see me be an annoying prick.
Well, we will have all that in the description when I get this done. But, anyways, thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. And best of luck out there with everything you got going on with Twitch and all the other wrestling shows you got coming up.
Much appreciated. Thanks for having me on, man. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, definitely. Had a lot of fun, and you're welcome back anytime.
Awesome. Thanks, dude.